Well, I think they probably would. They would arrange a party outside of their house. So they probably get a whole group of kids and take them somewhere. So it's a bit different for because if you have a party at home, it's not so exciting. But if you go somewhere and have a party, and of course they've got a lot of very high profile celebrity friends with young children. So it would be. I'm sure it's quite competitive about who can give the most glamorous extravagant party, but I think Harry and Meghan probably would play it down a bit, but I'm sure that they would organize some sort of themed party, but I don't think it would necessarily be at their house. They would take them somewhere, maybe to a play center or a private play center, and because kids at that age, they just loved romping around and rolling about and just having fun. Well, we know that they don't like anything plastic. There's a big movement amongst young parents now, no plastics. And some time ago, I think it was actually Hugh Grosvenor, who's a godfather to Archie, sent Archie a birthday present, and a note came back saying no plastic, please. So we know that Meghan and Harry don't approve of plastic presents, but kids love them. They love the brighter, the shinier, the better. But I don't think we'll see Princess Lilibet getting into one of those sort of plastic push cars or things like that. I don't know what she'll be allowed, but I'm sure they're quite fussy. I mean, maybe they'll take them all, or maybe they'll hire a carousel. They can actually do anything they like. They just said that she's a delightful little girl and she never stops talking. And like lots of little girls, she loves pretty clothes. And really, we don't know much more because, of course, they're very protective of their children. And we've hardly even seen a picture of her. We've certainly only seen one a really decent official picture of her. The others have been sort of paparazzi shots, and obviously when she was a baby, but we've seen very, very little of her. I would think she probably does lead quite an extravagant life because it's that they live in one of the most expensive areas of California. They're surrounded by movie stars and celebrities and people that have a lot of money and can afford to live an extravagant lifestyle. I'm not saying that they would be ostentatious, but I think it would be quietly very extravagant. And I'm sure those kids have been on, private jets and things already. In the old days, the Queen and Prince Philip didn't really concentrate too much on half terms with their children, and they were looked after by nannies and governesses, or they went to stay with friends. But the generation of royals that we have now, it's a very big deal, and William and Kate always said that their children would come first when they get on with their duty, but they do put their children in a much more prominent position than it used to be, than, for instance, King Charles was when he was a child. So it's full of activities. They used to go to Mystique at half term and stay with Carol and Michael Middleton, or occasionally William, took a house himself. They used to take the children skiing during the skiing season, but obviously with Kate's illness, they have very much been at home at Adelaide Cottage. But for half term, they go to Norfolk, to their house on the Sandringham estate. I think that what they've got the whole of the Sandringham estate on their doorstep. And there's now a big sort of woodland amusement park there, which I know that they love. I mean, all Kate's kids are very active. They love football, as we know with George, who's been to several football matches now, and he's an Aston Villa fan. And apparently Charlotte's rather good at football as well. So I think they probably have football matches, with William and with their friends. And they also have a sort of menagerie of animals there. William recently spoke about their guinea pigs and how he ended up having to clean them out. Well, I don't know if the guinea pigs are at Anmer Hall or down at Windsor, but I'm sure they take them with them. It's not very difficult to move them about. And they had chickens at one time. And at one time, they actually had a hamster called Marvin, which I think is a wonderful name. But I've got a feeling that was about 2016. So I don't suppose Marvin is with them anymore, but typical sort of kids' pets. And then Charlotte's lucky enough to have her own pony, and she's absolutely mad about ponies and riding and everything to do with it, as often little girls of that age are. William probably takes George rough shooting on the Sandringham estate. Now, that's not something that every kid would do. And they've got the nearby Holcombe Beach, which is absolutely amazing. So they've got that. They've also got golf. I don't know if, George is sort of learning to play a little bit of golf. So they've got a huge number of activities to do. And then they've got the big house and Sandringham if they want to go and have a look at that. So there's endless things to do. Mostly outdoors because they're very outdoorsy. They definitely have friends in the air because William was actually at school at his very first, I think it was a Montessori school up in Norfolk. So he would still have kept in touch with some of his friends, and certainly Kate would have made sure that she still had a few, friends from school, and she's also got friends that live nearby. So it's quite a big social setup there. I'm sure that they get invited to everything and probably say no to most of it, but there's a lot of sort of kids of the same age as George and Charlotte and probably Louis as well. They do hang out with Pippa, but Pippa lives down in Bucklebury, which is where Carol and Michael live, with her children and her husband, who's a really high-powered financier. So I suspect that Pippa is more likely to take the kids abroad for half term. So I don't suppose that they'll be hanging out with them this half term. They'll probably have gone off somewhere hot and beautiful and expensive, I would think. I think out of necessity, they're having a more low-key half term. I mean, I don't think that Kate would be ready to sort of travel a great deal. I'm sure she wouldn't be ready to travel yet. So they obviously want to be with their mum, and so their half term is adapted accordingly to her, so they wouldn't be traveling. Nanny Maria probably does go to Animal Hall, but she's also got to have time off. But I think that her time off would obviously be during the school term rather than the school holidays. And I'm sure that Nanny Maria is probably with them now. There's a huge number of houses and cottages on the Windsor estate. And I would imagine that Nanny Maria has her own cottage on the estate. There's a lot of houses there. And she probably would have been given her own house so that she can come and go, but always be very nearby if she's needed. So it would be ideal for her. And she's been there a long time, so it's a sort of bit of a little bit of freedom for her to have her own place.